the founder of Palm Sports. Ken Pompey will be joining as well. We'll talk about the latest sports news. That's what's cooking on today's Sports Stove Podcast.
From Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Podcast Network, you're listening to the Sports Stove Podcast with your host, Vince Stover.
Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up for me?
Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Podcast, presented by InTheClutch.com, officially licensed apparel with baseball, basketball, football, hockey, retro teams, and all kinds of things going on for you there as well. Go to InTheClutch.com to see for yourself the products that they offer. Use the code SPORTSSTOVE. You're going to get 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's InTheClutch.com. Use the code SPORTSSTOVE. You get 10% off your first purchase. Welcome into a new edition. And again, we've got an exciting show coming for you here today. Two great guests will be joining us here in a few minutes. Tom Allen, Indiana Hoosiers college football coach. And then we also have Ken Pompey. He's the founder of an app. That's basically the way it's described as the Uber for coaches, a way for you to find coaches and trainers in your area. And Ken will come on towards the end of the show as well. We welcome in, as we do most of our episodes, my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Doing good. Excited to be here and a lot going on. One of the things I love to do is follow the Packers and the OTAs and stuff like that when that starts happening. And so there's a lot going on with that.
There is. Football is right around the corner, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to get Tom Allen back on the show, is because with football coming around the corner, he was going to get pretty busy here in the coming weeks. And we've appreciated Coach Allen coming on 2 times previously and chatting with us. And I thought it'd be fun to talk to him because of all the NIL conversation that's went on with Coach Saban and Jimbo Fisher. And so I thought it would be a perfect time to bring him on to talk about those things as well as some other things. So, Dad, what we're going to do, I talked with Coach Allen earlier this week, so we're going to go ahead and play that interview for the folks. And then we will come back and chat about it again as well. But before we get to Coach Allen, a quick word from our sponsor, InTheClutch.com. InTheClutch.com, the newest sponsors of the Sports Stove Podcast, and we are excited to partner with InTheClutch.com. They have officially licensed apparel and accessories for your favorite sports teams and athletes. Use code SPORTSSTOVE and get 10% off your first purchase. You can find shirts like "I Still Own You" from Green Bay Packers. Are we talking about practice? All kinds of great shirts in baseball, football, hockey, and basketball. Officially licensed apparel from InTheClutch.com. Again, use the code SPORTSSTOVE to get 10% off your purchase. Welcome back into the Sports Stove. We are joined now by Indiana University's head football coach, Tom Allen. Coach, I think we can basically now, this is the third time you're on the show, so I think we can basically say me and you are best friends, right?
There you go.
Close to it at least. All right.
Yeah.
Coach, welcome back to the show. Last year, rough year, injuries played a big role in that, other things as well. So what's the mantra or the conversation being had with the team now, getting ready for a new year, getting into summer practice?
Yeah, well, you just have to, everybody's accountable for what happens. Obviously injuries were a big deal. We got decimated at several positions. They had 20 guys we lost for the whole year, but that's, sometimes part of it. You don't plan for that. That's not what you ever want or expect to happen to that extreme. You realize you're going to have some injuries. That's usually part of it, but and when they start happening, and you have to have other guys step up. Unfortunately, that we're not at the point in the depth, of our program to be able to withstand that many, and it made a significant difference. But at the same time, I think what you learn from it all is sometimes life's really hard. Sometimes life's not fair, and how you going to respond, and people ask me about, different things along the way here, but my response has been, you have core values for a reason. You have things you believe in for a reason, and those are there to give you a great foundation when things are going well, like it did in 2020, and then also when things go really bad, like they did in 2021. So that's what kept us together, was what we believe in here: accountability, toughness, and love, and the LEO culture we have here. Our guys care about each other, love each other. Kids continue to play really, really hard for one another, and never were divided or never felt any of that during the challenges. You just keep battling together. And like I said, I think football can be a great microcosm of life and what it teaches us. And I think we had a chance to experience it from the side that no one wants to experience it from, which is one of adversity.
In your coaching philosophy, how much do you look back to learn from it, or do you just put it aside and move forward?
Well, we've learned from some things. We've dwelt on the past. I don't believe in doing that. I just use the illustration. You have the window in the front of your car, in comparison to the rear view mirror. The front window there and the dashboard is the big window. That's what we're going to focus on. And you have the rear view mirror that you look at occasionally just to see what's behind you, but you don't focus on that. And I think that's kind of a pretty good picture of what you want to do. And what's in front of us is 2022. And our one word for 2022 is to build. And that word was picked for a reason. And that's been our focus, and so, but you also have to be able to take a view in that rear view mirror at times, just to make sure you don't forget the things that have happened and maybe why they happened, and you learn from those. And so that's been our perspective.
That's a good perspective. You guys took full advantage of the transfer portal this year. You had a quarterback in Connor Bazelak from Missouri, bringing a running back, Sean, is it Stivers, I believe is how you say his name, from Auburn, as well as others as well. We talked about the transfer portal the last time you were on. Has your use of the portal changed at all over the last couple of years, or has it kind of stayed steady?
Well, I think the use for that and the reasons why we use it have been consistent, and that is to be able to fill spots that you lose. And right now, I think because of we kind of had the perfect storm in some ways, roster wise, after this past year. We had a large number of seniors, 36 to be exact, that went through our senior day ceremony in 2021, which is double what you usually have, because of guys just in the whole way the things worked out with our roster, but also we have guys that have an extra year because of COVID. So because of that, we knew there was going to be probably a lot of turnover after this past year, because if you keep all those guys, because they gave you that bonus year 2021, but not 2022 moving forward. So we're going to go back to 85. So really, we knew we were going to have some tough conversations with some guys. So expect there to be some more turnover than usual, maybe, and try to find the best guys to fit the needs. When you have some guys that maybe have been here for 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years, and had an additional year to use, and are going to use it somewhere else. And so we were able to replace those guys with some older guys. Instead of 30-some freshmen, we've got a 20-plus class of freshmen, and then also 10 or so transfers that are older guys that have played other places that have given us immediate, experience at the running back room, which we needed, quarterback room, which we needed, and then it's some spots at receiver. So a couple spots on the D line as well, and the linebacker. So excited about the guys we've added, trying to use it in a very judicious way. Guys that fit with us, guys that are part of our, the culture we built here that can add to it and make it better.
Everybody assumes Connor's your quarterback for next year. Is that true, or is there still competition there?
No, there's still competition there. I think Jack's had a great spring. Connor's obviously coming here with a lot of experience, a 2-year starter in the SEC, and threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. So just really, really good competition. I believe in that. Donovan McCauley's also involved in that. Next Williams involved in that. But the two that kind of separated themselves coming out of spring would have been Connor and Jack. And so, but I just want these guys to compete all summer long into fall camp, and may the best guy be named the starter.
Your defense returns a lot of guys compared to your offense, especially. And so that consistency that you do get in the day and age of the transfer portal, it seems like consistency is harder and harder to find with the rosters. But how excited are you to have a pretty solid returning group on your defensive side of the ball?
Oh, very excited. I mean, you think about Tywan Mullen and Jalen Williams and Devon Matthews. Those three guys have been all Big Ten players in the secondary, excellent football players. Tywan's first-team All-American, and then Cam Jones at linebacker, all Big Ten linebacker. And then you got some guys on D-line that played a lot of football for us as well, too. And so really good foundation and core guys that are coming back defensively. Brian Fitzgerald played a ton of football for us. There a lot of really good football. Noah Pierre, another guy that's really been very productive for us. So I can kind of go on and on. Defensively, excited for that side of the football. And those guys need to be big. They need to step up, and then I would expect them to. And several of those guys I mentioned have been a huge part of our offseason leadership growth. And excited to be able to have those guys with us one more year. For some of them, they chose to come back. Some of those guys could have gone on to the NFL, but they chose to stay. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited about our defense and what they can become.
A little bit of changes going on within the college football world. One of the things that's being talked about, and I've not heard anything on the Big Ten on this yet, but is the divisions where it's not necessarily necessary anymore to have the divisions for conferences. Do you expect any changes with that with the Big Ten, or do you think the divisions stay as they are?
Well, for this season coming up, 2022, they will remain the same. But I do think there is definitely a strong consideration, as you mentioned, nationally. They've taken away those guidelines to be able to have the divisions per the size of your conference. And so I think it's kind of opening the door for that. And I think it's really more about trying to create more equitable matchups within the conference. And I think that's the goal. That increases viewership. Obviously the TV revenue is a big deal for college sports, especially football. So, yeah, I would predict, I don't know when, that they will have a new structure, and it'll probably be without divisions.
And then I'd be a bad interviewer if I didn't ask the question. So there's been a lot of news about the NIL stuff going on this week. I won't ask you about specific coaches or anything like that. But how has the NIL, there's obviously positive with it for the athletes. How has it affected, though, especially like the recruiting battles and stuff like that? What are you seeing as a Big Ten football coach just with the positive or the negative effect of that?
Well, it's become a variable now, in your recruiting process. It obviously wasn't in the past. And I think it has a lot of positives. I think it's like anything else. You got to find a way to maximize it in the best way possible. We've obviously seen examples where it's already being abused and being misused and not being, used for the very purpose for what it was intended for. But that is often the case in this world, in this life of reality. So, but that's where you have to have a set of rules and guidelines. And when those are not followed, then you have to have consequences for those who don't follow them. And so if you don't have consequences for those who don't follow them, then eventually everybody kind of just ignores them, right? Whatever those rules might be. So I just want to see us follow the rules that we set in place. And I do want to be able to have an environment where our players can maximize the name, image, and likeness that they bring to a program, because that's really what it's for. And you bring a young man to college and he's now, helping us, sell tickets and, sell, seats in the stands for people to be able to come and support us and buy jerseys and different things like that are because of those players. And I can see the benefit of that, and I want them to be able to benefit from that. So it's like anything else. You have to have a set of guidelines to follow. And so I just want them to be followed. And right now that's not the case. And so a lot of frustrations being created because of that. And I think that's fair to say, based on the last, week's events. But bottom line is that I just want to see us be able to grow our sport. Young men are coming to college to get an education. That's the number one reason for being here. Should be 98% of our guys don't play in the NFL, and so that's the vast majority. And I want them to be able to have a great experience. And then those that can benefit from that, from the new rules, I want that to be the case.
Well, it's always great to see when athletes can benefit more and more, and excited that opportunity is there for them. Coach, I know you're busy, and I really do appreciate you again taking the time to come on the Sports Stove podcast and being a part of our show. Thank you much. Good luck in the upcoming year, and looking forward to seeing what the Hoosiers can produce this year.
I appreciate you having me. Have an awesome day.
There you go, Coach Tom Allen from Indiana Hoosiers. And I sure appreciate, again, the time that he took to come on. Dad, we talked about several things, transfer portal. We talked about NIL and other things as well. Anything catch your ear in that conversation?
No, I mean, I think he reiterated some of the things we've talked about. I do think the transfer portal was interesting because he had a situation where he really needed to get, more players in, and it does provide that. So I think that was good. And, the NIL stuff, is what we've talked about. Like he said, there's got to be a set of guidelines, and there's got to be consequences if people don't follow them. And with that not being the case now, it really makes it tough. But he is a coach, and like he said, he has to try to maximize it. He wants it to benefit the students. And it's interesting, his take is still that that's why they come to college, to get an education, which I think, in football with all the players that are on a team, that's true, even though why there is a small number that probably the focus is strictly the NFL.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin actually said, you ask top 100 players, and you're probably going to get the number one factor of where they go to college is the money. So that's transitioned a little bit over the last year or two, because there have been some players who that still would have been a factor with, because colleges were offering money under the table and things like that. But now you have a bunch of people. I learned this, Dad, just through some college players here. I cover Eastern Kentucky University, and they're guys that transfer out. Is what you find is there's one guy that does it and he succeeds and he's great and he has a great career, or it was an awesome move for him. And then all of a sudden everybody starts getting in their head, well, I'm that great too. And they're not. And so the NIL, I think, is similar, where you see one kid make money and now all of a sudden there's another kid going, oh, well, I should be able to make money too. And so instead of looking for the right football fit or the right basketball fit or the right whatever fit, instead of looking for their best education, all those kind of things, they're just shopping around to see where they can get paid. And some kids think, boy, if I get $10,000, that's a pretty big deal. Other kids are thinking, man, if I could get $50,000, $100,000, that would be a big deal. And I can understand why it is, but the motivation for picking a school is changing. For some people, not for everybody. I think there's still a level of athlete and then a maturity of some athletes that understands they're at this picking the right college. I can make my money once I get to college. It's picking the right college where I can make the most of my abilities, where I can develop the best so that I can get long-term paid in the NFL. Is still a factor for many players, but there is going to be a handful. When we talk about the number of players going into college football, we're just talking about a handful of guys that their deciding factor where they go to school is who's going to pay them the most money. And I think it's going to we're not going to see it. I think it's going to hurt, though, several athletes with a chance to even go to the NFL. They're going to be put at the wrong situation, the wrong school, the wrong style, the wrong fit for their talents. And ultimately, it's going to lead to them flaming out and never getting to what they could have been to had they gone to a school that was going to develop them or use them the best way according to their talents. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I think that'll be true. And again, there's still a lot of questions to be answered about name, image, and likeness. I've not heard much specifics about contracts, are these written up in contracts? If that's true, is that going to start affecting things like we've talked about players that, when they don't go to the championship, they're not going to play in a bowl game? Is that something where the name, image, and likeness will be tied to you finish your career here for the year? Will that make any difference, since alumni are very involved in that? And how will it affect, the NCAA expanding the playoffs? With more teams and things in the playoffs, will that, will all that affect or tie in somewhere?
Well, there are contracts. In order for you to do an NIL deal, you have to go through, I guess it's the NCAA. There's an NIL person. I don't know if it's with each university or how that works exactly, but I know that a player just can't accept money still. It has to go through the proper channels, and there is legal work involved in that, paperwork involved in that. Now, can they write in that you have to play in the bowl game? I'm guessing they can, but in most cases, when you're signing an NIL deal, once you get to the bowl season, it doesn't matter as much, because you're talking about a guy wearing a T-shirt in interviews, or mainly it's social media. More than anything, it's just their own social media push. So I don't know that that's going to factor in at this point, but there might be schools that do that. I don't know. That's a good question, but there is definitely legal work involved, because I was talking with a player and asked him about some NIL stuff, and his deal was, well, we'd have to send it through the NIL office or whatever it is. And I didn't realize it was even that organized. I was actually surprised it was that organized. So nonetheless, there is a proper channel to go through. Now, whether or not people follow that channel And when you're talking about these millions of dollars that are coming in, that's a whole nother thing. And Dad, you've heard, and I've heard on Dan Patrick's show, he said that the going price for a top-ranked quarterback is $8 million right now. Now, whether or not people will get that, we don't know, but that's kind of the thought process right now. If you're going to get a top-level quarterback, you're looking at saying, hey, we can get you $8 million. And that's pretty enticing for a lot of guys. There are some guys, and let's talk about this, Dad. Arch Manning, he's the top unsigned quarterback in his class right now. I would think that money is not the enticement for Arch Manning. Wouldn't that be true?
You would think so. And again, he's obviously got with his family advisors, to be careful about that. I'm sure he will benefit maybe from name, image, and likeness some, but I would not think that would be the main decision maker with him there.
Well, you hit it right there. Strong supporting group. Who you listening to? Who you taking advice from? And people with smart parents, grandparents, coaches, people who aren't greedy and they truly want what's best for the kid are giving the proper advice. And the question is, will the kid listen? I guess to some degree, but you've got other people, and this is the problem it's been a problem in college sports and high school sports for a long time. You've got people that want to exploit the situation. And you've got agents who don't have the best interest of the kid. They have the best interest of making money. You've got coaches, you've got uncles, you've got aunts, you've got cousins, all these other relatives. And we've seen it time and time again where they just want to hop on the money train. And instead of giving sound advice, they're giving financial advice. And it's immediate financial advice versus long-term financial advice. So there's all kinds of things and factors that go into it. But strong support cast is definitely an important one to help you make sure you make the right decision in making the decision of where you go to school at is definitely important without a doubt. Let's see here. Speaking of NIL stuff, Alabama, who's never cheated when it comes to money, recently signed a quarterback. He was committed to A&M and has now flipped to Alabama. What are the chances money was involved in flipping this quarterback?
Well, I mean, with all the publicity that's involved, you wouldn't think, at least there's not going to be a trail to be able to prove that because there's just too much publicity involved in it. So I think, Jimbo Fisher, again, is trying to do, damage control real quickly because I think there is some people that will be affected by, this, is a bad situation. They could get in trouble or whatever. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. You have a guy flipped from A&M to Alabama, and this whole next recruiting year is going to be crazy. Again, unless they get guidelines in place.
Yeah, and with this signing, it almost pushes Arch Manning out of Alabama. And I don't know that he was ever going to go to Alabama, honestly. Right now, the leading thought is Georgia or Texas for Arch Manning. Either one makes some sense. Georgia for national championship aspirations. Texas would be a place Arch could go and really establish himself as a legend, just like his uncle did when Peyton Manning went to Tennessee versus going to Ole Miss. He kind of took Tennessee almost to the top. T. Martin actually took him to the top, but Peyton Manning took him almost to the top and became a legend in Tennessee. Arch Manning, if he went to Texas and turned things around at Texas, he would obviously be a lifelong legend at the University of Texas as well. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Arch Manning's recruiting process? And do you think he should go somewhere like a top school like Georgia, top football school, or somewhere else? He visited Virginia at one point, and but he's visiting Texas and Georgia here soon. Where should he go?
If he looks at his family history and stuff, he might go to a school that's obviously a big school, but one where he would establish himself. I would think with the advice of his father and the family, the coach the administration, the people around that school will be very important as far as being reputable people. So I think that will be a lot of it. It's kind of interesting you talking about Texas because I can see your point there, but boy, there's a lot of names already at Texas when you think of the University of Texas. For him to come out of there, of course there was that way at Tennessee, but Peyton did become a legend and still is in the state of Tennessee. I don't know if you do the same thing in the state of Texas or not. Georgia, again, of course, has everything going in the right direction now, and that is in the South. I guess again, I haven't kept up on it probably near as much as you have. You had told me Virginia was a name that had really popped up there. I don't know if Ole Miss is still in the works or not because of the family. I would think that he'll make a decision here sooner than later, but we'll see.
I would be surprised if he goes to Ole Miss as long as Lane Kiffin's the coach.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything for sure. I've not read anything or seen anything. But remember, Peyton is very tied in with Tennessee. And what Lane Kiffin did at Tennessee is not something that you just overlook. And so I would be surprised if they trust Lane Kiffin. Georgia, if you win at Georgia, you're just another person who won at Georgia. And that's why I think Texas makes more sense out of those two schools. Who's the most famous Texas quarterback? University of Texas quarterback.
The most famous Texas, I don't know about quarterback. Well, it'd be Vince Young.
Vince Young, yeah.
Vince Young. But when I think of players, I think of Earl Campbell.
Yeah, but that's a running back. Ricky Williams, running back. They've had some great running backs come through. But when you talk about Texas, at least in my generation, when you talk about Texas, you talk about Vince Young. If Arch Manning came, brought them back to a championship, he would be, again, a lifelong legend at Texas. I don't think he could do that at Georgia. I think he would still be well-loved and well-received, all those kinds of things. But I think he's just another one in Georgia versus being the one at Texas if he's able to go in there, help turn the program around and win a championship. With the way that Josh Heupel's been recruiting, you don't hear Tennessee mentioned. But, boy, I wouldn't be completely surprised if something crazy happened. He ended up going to Tennessee. He's not going to Virginia. I'm surprised he went on the visit there. Again, Tony Elliott, good coach. He was Clemson's offense coordinator for so many years, and so he was already very tied in with him through the Clemson recruiting process. But to me, Texas makes a lot of sense because it would be doing very similar to what Peyton did, of kind of forging his own path to some degree, and the chance to revitalize a university that has had high expectations recently, but has yet to meet those high expectations. So now they also got Quinn Ewers, remember, who went to Ohio State because he got paid and then transferred back down from there down to Texas. So they got him there sitting there too. So I'm not sure exactly what direction, how that fits, I guess, in that process. And that brings us back to the money issue, right? Quinn Ewers paid to in high school. So he goes early to Ohio State. Who knows how much money? He made good money there. And then he goes down to Texas now to play is the idea. Go get a little bit of an education, a quarterback education under Ryan Day, and then go to Texas and try to take over there. And he's got a year before Arch could show up. And if that happens, then, what happens from there. All right. How about this, Dad? College football, 60-year tradition. The University of Nebraska, not winning, obviously, but as they released balloons after the first touchdown of the game, but due to a helium shortage, no balloons this year at Nebraska. Do you think any of this has nothing to do with the helium, and actually they're just afraid they're not going to score any touchdowns this year?
I've not heard of a helium shortage, but I wouldn't think that is the problem. And again, maybe the helium people would say, hey, go ahead because there's not going to be a touchdown. But apparently, I don't know that ties in at all. It is said whenever there are traditions that are changed or whatever the case may be. I did not know about that one at Nebraska. Again, I remember when Nebraska, when I was pretty young, they were a power school, and the big game was Nebraska and Oklahoma. But it's definitely been a while for that.
It has been a while for that. Dad, I know we changed our schedule a little bit tonight, so I know you've got to run. Any other comments or thoughts before you head out tonight?
No, I appreciate Tom Allen coming on with you. It's great to be able to have a Big Ten coach there on the show, and it kind of shows the kind of information you can have on this show, and that's great. And nope, I think we're done here. Again, a lot going on in sports, and look forward to being back again next time. Yeah, we are on episode 198. So next Wednesday, well, I don't think we're going to have a local hour show next Wednesday due to schedule conflicts. So next Friday's episode will be episode 200. We'll be celebrating episode 200 with that. Of course, we'll be back on Monday, possibly with an all-new episode. I know we've got Memorial Day, coming up this weekend and stuff, but we'll try to get another episode out for Monday as well. But Dad, thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, thanks. No problem. All right, up next, we're going to talk some fun stuff. Ken Pompey is the father of two sons who made it to the MLB, and he knows how important it is to find a great coach in sports. He has partnered up with Rishi Sharma, a Toronto-based lawyer and tech visionary, to bring coaches to everyone around the world through their Palm Sports app and platform. And joining us now, I believe, let's see here if we got him here. Maybe, possibly. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk with the guys from palmsports.com. InTheClutch.com, the newest sponsors of the Sports Stove podcast, and we are excited to partner with InTheClutch.com. They have officially licensed apparel and accessories for your favorite sports teams and athletes. Use code SPORTSSTOVE and get 10% off your first purchase. You can find shirts like "I Still Own You" from Green Bay Packers. Are we talking about practice? All kinds of great shirts in baseball, football, hockey, and basketball. Officially licensed apparel from InTheClutch.com. Again, use the code SPORTSSTOVE to get 10% off your purchase. All right, welcome back in, and a great episode so far. Again, we talked with Tom Allen. If you missed any of that interview, make sure you go back and listen to the whole thing. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it as well anywhere you get your podcast, the Sports Stove Podcast, and you can listen to the interview with Tom Allen. Coach Allen is a friend of sorts, I guess, acquaintance, and always appreciate him coming on. He's always very real in his conversations, and always shoots straight with me. I appreciate that too. Doesn't beat around the bush. I want to encourage you to check out our other episodes as well. We release 3 episodes a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Typically, again, with the holidays coming up, some things will be a little different, but every Wednesday we do a local hour episode, which covers Eastern Kentucky University. And in covering Eastern Kentucky University, we cover mainly football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball. And the baseball team is currently in the ASUN tournament. They tied for first in their division, yet due to the way the ASUN works things out, is they ended up being the 6th seed in the tournament. So they had to play in Pool B, and they swept Pool B. 3 games straight, no issues there whatsoever. So now they face off against Liberty Wednesday morning. If they win that one, it's single elimination from here on out. If they win that one, they go to the ASUN Championship, and obviously a potential opportunity to land in the NCAA baseball tournament, which is something that we definitely hope for as well. So make sure you tune in. ESPN Plus will carry those games, show some support for EKU baseball. 3 guys on that team. Will Bryan, he's a closer. Will King is the catcher. Kendall Ewell, outfield. All 3 of them have potential to be drafted in the Major League Baseball this coming season, coming draft.
and an opportunity for them to move on to the next level and continue playing their baseball career. Will Smith, 15 saves on the year. Will King has had a career year at the plate, and Kendall Ewell as well. Kendall Ewell has been playing some phenomenal baseball with steals, great defense and good offense as well, all played in there. So again, tune in on Wednesdays. Our last local hour episode that we had, head coach Chris Prothrow jumped on and joined us to talk about the ASUN tournament. We asked him, did they get shafted in the seating? He tried to play the company line there, said no. And but he explained that a little bit to us as well. He talked about the players and all the things going on there with the changes. They had a drastic turnover on the roster as well last year. And so getting all that worked out. And this year they won't have that drastic turnover. So he's pretty excited about that as well. So make sure you tune in to that episode. Go back and listen to that episode as well. Of course, with Memorial Day coming up, we're so thankful for all those men and women who serve and their families. So we think about Memorial Day is thinking about those who've lost their life, who served, and along with that, again, it's an opportunity to support, to help, to encourage families, loved ones of those who've been lost in service of our country. And so we say thank you to all those who have served and who continue to serve, of course, as well. We're going to break away for another commercial. We're working on some technical difficulties, but we're working on getting the gentleman on from Palm Sports. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and I think we got him. Hang on one second. And all right, we'll go to commercial break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll have the guys from Ken Sports.
With over 20 years of experience, Matt Schaefer and the good folks at locally owned IPM Pest and Termite provides pest control service for all of Central Kentucky's pest control needs. Whether you have a current pest control problem or want to prevent infestation from ever entering your home, IPM Pest and Termite offers maintenance programs that will help keep pests out of your home and provide peace of mind. So for dependable, reliable services that you can count on, get in touch with our good friend Matt Schaefer and IPM Pest and Termite today at myipm.com. That's myipm.com.
InTheClutch.com, the newest sponsors of the Sports Stove podcast, and we are excited to partner with InTheClutch.com. They have officially licensed apparel and accessories for your favorite sports teams and athletes. Use code SPORTSSTOVE and get 10% off your first purchase. You can find shirts like I Still Own You, Green Bay Packers. Are we talking about practice? All kinds of great shirts in baseball, football, hockey, and basketball. Officially licensed apparel from InTheClutch.com. Again, use the code SPORTSSTOVE to get 10% off your purchase. Welcome back into the Sports Stove podcast. Thank you again for joining. And we're working on some technical difficulties here, and but excited to get you some information, because one of the things that we do with youth sports is it's a year-round process, and you're trying to get better, trying to improve, trying to find ways to get ahead of the competition. And a lot of times people are looking for different people to join them, trainers, coaches, and things like that. So joining us now from Palm Sports is Rishi Sharma, one of the co-founders, I believe, if I remember that correctly, of Palm Sports. Rishi, thanks for being on with us.
Thank you for having me, Vince. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the technical delay there, but business is on as usual.
yeah. Technology is awesome when it works, and a struggle when it doesn't. But hey, thanks for coming on, though. We do appreciate it. Ken, of course, you work with Ken Pompey. Sorry, I got multiple words going through my head right now. But you guys have developed this. It's bigger than the app, but you guys have developed this app of Palm Sports. So explain to us a little bit kind of what it is and how you guys came up with the idea.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, Ken Pompey, he's the kind of co-founder of Palm Sports. And well, who is Ken Pompey? Ken Pompey is the father of two sons who successfully made it to the MLB. So he's not coached one son to the big leagues, but he's actually coached two sons to the big leagues. So it's definitely not a fluke per se if you're able to do it twice in a row. All right. So that's really where the story starts for our entire organization. Ken obviously knows how to make it to the big leagues, and he knows how to develop his kids, and he learned how to develop his kids using coaches, using his resources to make them keep on making it to the next level, keep on getting better at what they do. Now, basically what we're doing, what I'm doing, is I'm the guy here who's going to take the Pompey way, the way of using coaches and developing your kids, developing each other, developing yourself in sports. And I'm here to take that Pompey way and bring it into the palm of everybody's hands in the form of an app or in the form of a platform. And what Palm Sports is if you're ever looking for a coach, you need a coach to help you get better at basketball, soccer, football, whatever it may be. You just hop onto our app, just hop onto our website, and then you can look for a coach right near you to help you get better at exactly what you want to do. Set up some training sessions, set up the coaching sessions, and you can improve. Or if you don't want to get better at what you do, you just simply want to make things interesting when you play sports, just find a coach. You're sick of staring at the treadmill every day at the gym for 2 hours a day? Well, spice things up a little bit. Find a coach, do some practice and get some drills done. Spice it up a little bit. So you can definitely, and you can always find a coach for any sport that you're looking for. The other great part of our app is you can not only find coaches, but you can find other athletes. So after work, if you're looking for someone to play, I don't know, a game of pickup basketball, hockey, maybe even tennis with, but you don't have anybody, right? Nobody's really available after work. Somebody might be burning the midnight oil, and all your circle of friends might not be available, but just hop on our app. Instead of finding a coach, find people near you to set up a match with, and then boom, you've got another way to avoid looking at that treadmill all day. So find coaches, find athletes right around you to help you develop your skills, to just play sports, to get active, get healthy. So it's a nice little app where you can find coaches, find athletes near you, and get to playing sports, get to bettering your skills. And coaches, if you're a coach, by the way, sign up for our app because you can get paid to do what you love. You can get paid to coach athletes right on our app. So there's a lot of great things you can do. And again, we're just bringing the Pompey way into the form of an app to the world.
You kind of answered it, but my next question was going to be about the coaching aspect of it. And I know it was explained to me that it's kind of the Uber of coaches, for coaches. So how do coaches get involved? You said come and sign up. How does that happen?
Exactly. So all you've got to do, hop on our website, palmsports.com. You don't even have to hop on our website. Just send us a DM, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever you got. Just message us, and then we can get you set up as a coach on our platform. All you really need is coaching experience. There's, of course, vetting and screening that goes into the process as well. The regular background checks and etc. So we're all safe and happy on the app. But if you've got coaching experience and you want to join and earn some income by coaching athletes on the app, sign on up. Send us a DM, any of our social medias, hop on our websites. You can find us just by typing palmsports.com or palmsports on any social media app. And just send us a DM. We'll get you started. We'll get you some income in your pockets.
And that's awesome. I know that all coaches. So I'm a basketball coach, but it's on a volunteer basis. So even though it's high school JV, there's no money coming in for that right now, but that's okay. We love the kids. But it's always great if you can add some income for doing what you love as well. Now the kids side of it, or the athlete side of it, what's the age group? Is there a minimum age group? How old do you go with finding these trainers?
Yeah. So in terms of the trainers, you have to be an adult to be a coach. All right. Okay. So as a coach, you've got to be an adult. So 18 and up, essentially, to become a coach. But if you want to be an athlete, you can. It's for all ages, essentially. If you're under the age of maturity, then you'll need an adult to accompany you to coaching sessions, training sessions, just to keep things safe and make sure that everything goes along smoothly. But if you're an adult, free reign for you to use the coaching services, find other athletes as you please.
Now, you talked about Ken, and Ken was going to join us, but having technical difficulties, can't make it. So with Ken, and obviously this is a burden of his, a passion of his, that kind of leads to this direction. How have you been able to see Ken kind of transfer that passion into an actual, actually helping people, I guess?
Yeah, well, Ken and I first met. Actually, I developed this app as I'm currently a lawyer in Toronto. I'm a Toronto-based lawyer. And Ken and I crossed paths because I made this app, a demo version of it, shortly after I completed law school. And Ken and I met at a business event, and all of a sudden, we've got a big business going here. And so Ken and I were on the same page when it came to this app, because primarily Ken didn't have the ability to afford coaches for his kids growing up. So what he would do things the old school way. He would take a paper, clipboard, pen, and he'd go around to, friends, families, parents of other athletes and say, hey, my kid needs X amount of money to make it to this event or to obtain this kind of equipment or to do X or Y. Can you contribute X amount of dollars, Y amount of dollars towards hitting our goal so we can do this? And just a pen and paper and clipboard method would actually accomplish his goals, surprisingly. Like for me, I'm from the way of technology. So for me, I was like, oh, wow, that technique actually works. I can't believe it. And but it does. And it's essentially what we're translating into the new age day. So Ken would get his funding that way. He would make his wife, Val, hold the coaching equipment, play catcher whenever Tristan and Dalton were hitting sluggers. She would be the one who would have to corral them. So, he'd strap her up. He'd become a coach. She'd become a coach. They'd hire coaches. They'd, fundraise for their kids. They do a lot of things that a lot of dedicated parents would do for their kids to see their kids advance and have a shot at the big stages, right? So that kind of a story and that kind of a passion that Ken has, he's just taking it and bringing it to the modern day and age, to the modern world, right? So instead of the clipboard and pen, you can actually fund your favorite athlete, contribute to your favorite athlete right on our app. So it's almost like a crowdfunding aspect to it as well. So put a profile up. If you're an athlete, an up and coming rising star, put a profile up, join our app, and then build a following. That very same following can be the same following that contributes towards financially funding your endeavors in sports. So we've kind of solved the financial aspect of having funding for, underprivileged youth or just youth who need a lot of money to get to the next stage in life. So that's one side of things. And then coaches, instead of Ken and Val and his wife being the coaches anymore, we've got a plethora of coaches that everybody can have available to them. So we're just translating his passion for sports, for coaching, for seeing kids grow and reach their potential, just putting it into an app and letting every parent, letting every kid have a chance at doing the same thing.
Is there certain locations right now? Obviously, it's still growing, and you're growing the whole app and the whole process of the coaches and things like that. So are there certain areas right now that are in market versus out of market?
Yeah, so right now, our hottest areas are Toronto and New York, actually. So those are our two hottest areas right now. But our users will determine where the hottest market is and are. So if we've got a lot of coaches that sign up in Alaska, then we're going to start to, cater to the coaches' needs there, cater to our athletes' needs there, cater to our users there. So wherever we're growing the fastest is where we're going to make things happen. We're not going to choose one particular place because we want to be global. We want to reach everywhere and everyone. So our users are going to let us know exactly where they need us the most.
So can coaches anywhere right now sign up?
Absolutely. Coaches anywhere now can sign up. I'm sure you remember the initial stages of Uber where, not everywhere you went in the world could you get an Uber. I'm probably sure. Do people even remember that about Uber anymore? Or is it probably not? People just think probably Uber was just from day one. We used to get rides anywhere. You could be right next to the pyramids in Egypt and calling an Uber, right?
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't always like that. It used to be a lot of the times, Uber's not in your area. Yeah, you'd get those kind of messages. And of course, we're a growing company. We'll be, we want to be transparent with everyone. So in some areas, you might not have as good of a experience as you do in other areas, because just because coaches sign up and athletes sign up is dependent on how the user experience will be. So we're growing, and we're eventually going to be all around the world. Anybody in anywhere of the world can sign. Anywhere in the world can sign up. So there's no restriction, no location restrictions. So come on down, sign up, send us a message. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Anywhere, hop on our website. Let's get started. Let's sign up more coaches and athletes.
So social media is Palm Sports. What's the website?
PalmSports.com.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to say it wrong.
That's exactly what it is. You've got it right, yeah.
Awesome, PalmSports.com. And again, this is Rishi Sharma, one of the co-founders of Palm Sports, him and Ken Pompey in together. to create this possibility for athletes to find coaches, trainers, and fellow athletes as well to get together and just get better at the sports. And there's always people looking. I love the idea of being able to financially support athletes and things like that through the app, and an opportunity for people, not just grandma and grandpa or mom and dad, but for other people to get behind and support these athletes is a wonderful opportunity as well.
Yeah.
Rishi, anything else you want to add before we close out?
Hey, I just want to say, if you're a coach, sign up to our app. Like I said, send us a message on social media, any social media you got. Hop on our website, send us a message. Athletes join up, and let's make this platform an amazing platform for everyone to use.
Wonderful. Again, it's Palm Sports. You can find them on social media, anywhere you have social media, or palmsports.com to find out more information. And Rishi, thank you so much. And I apologize that Ken couldn't get on. We'll get him on one of these days. But thank you for coming on and carrying the torch. From what I hear, you're the face of it, and they try to keep Ken behind the scenes. No, I'm just kidding. But thank you, Rishi.
We're going to be on next time. We'll tell you some Ken Pompey stories. You've got to hear them from him for sure. Okay. So we'll be back on again.
Awesome. Rishi, thank you so much. And make sure you go out and check out palmsports.com. All right. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Sports Stove Podcast. Don't forget about going to intheclutch.com. Use the code SportsStove. You get 10% off your purchase there of licensed apparel, baseball, basketball, hockey, football, other things as well. Intheclutch.com. Use the code SportsStove, and you'll get 10% off your purchase. Thanks to Dad for coming and being on the program. Again, thank you to Rishi Sharma from Palm Sports, and thank you to Tom Allen from Indiana Hoosiers Football for being a part of the show again as well. If you missed any part of the episode, make sure you go back and listen to the entirety of it on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, we'll see you